Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Darrin Goodman from GuitarControl.com bringing you this video lesson. Today I want to show you a cool kind of Celtic riff. This is actually a fiddle riff from Roundtable Rival by Lindsey Stirling and just transposed for guitar. So this is a cool riff to learn. It sounds cool, it's fun to play, it's a little challenging, but it's just to kind of give you an idea of like cool things that you can do by taking licks and ideas from other instruments and applying them to guitar. So be sure to click on the link in the description for the tabs, and let's get close up and take a look at this. All right, so some of the fingerings in this are a little bit awkward, kind of some big reaches and stuff, and I'm going to be using fingers that you're going to be thinking, oh, you should, wouldn't it be easier if you use this finger or that finger? But I'm going to explain why I've chosen to use the fingers that I do, just to make it so I don't have to move my hand position as much. So starting off, the very first note is the 7th fret of the 3rd string, and we're going to use your middle finger, your 2nd finger. And then the next note is the 10th fret of the 2nd string, and you're going to use your 4th finger. So that's a big, a bit of a stretch between these fingers, and it would you'd think that, oh, using your 1st finger here would be better. But the notes that follow it is, right after this is the reason why I use my 2nd finger. So we've got 7th fret, 3rd string, to the 10th fret of the 2nd string, back to the 7th fret of the 3rd string. And now we're going to go to the 6th fret of the 2nd string with your 1st finger. And this is why I don't use my 1st finger here, so that I can just drop my finger back down. And you're going to pick that 6 with your 1st finger, and then you're going to do a hammer on to the 8th fret with your 3rd finger, and then a pull off back to the 6th. And then to the 9th fret of the 3rd string with your 4th finger, and then back to the 7th again where we started with your 2nd finger to the 7th fret of the 4th string. And I'm going to use that finger. I'm just going to reach up and grab that, because then it goes back to the 7th of the 3rd string, and I can just roll my finger back down. So that's the first measure. And slowly we have. All right, so moving on, when the last 2 notes of the first measure, when we go to the 4th string, the 7th fret, then the 7th fret of the 3rd string, we follow that with the 6th fret of the 2nd string, and then back to the 7th fret of the 3rd string again. So then back to the 6th fret of the 2nd string again with your 1st finger to the 10th fret of the 2nd string. And now this is a really big stretch, going from the 6th all the way up to the 10th, but you're going to use your 4th finger. Now, if you have problems making this stretch, I've gone over this with some of my private students, and I've been getting my fingers don't stretch that far, my fingers are too short, well, like I've said this before, and many times, I've got little hands, I've got short fingers. If I can make this stretch, anybody should be able to. So one of the things you want to make sure you're not doing is like putting your thumb up here and bending your wrist this way, like putting the palm of your hand against the back of the guitar, because then it makes it about impossible to make that stretch. So if you really come around, so your wrist is bent like this, so it's like you're reaching out and pointing back at the guitar, you get a lot more movement to be able to stretch between your fingers. All right, so so far we have there's that 10, and then back to the 7th fret of the 3rd string again with your 2nd finger. Now to the 6th fret of the 2nd string with your 1st finger, to the 8th fret with your 3rd finger, back to the 6 again, and now we're going to do a hammer onto 8 and then a pull off back to 6. And then end there with the 9th fret of the 3rd string with your 4th finger. So that's the first 2 measures, and it's also the first half of this riff. So the whole riff so far. Okay, then moving on to the 3rd measure, it starts off the same way as the previous part. So the 3rd measure and the 1st measure are exactly the same thing. So you're just going to do the same thing, same fingers. Actually, this one, it's the same, but we want to kind of break it up a little bit differently. So you're going to start off the 7, 10, 7, 6, hammer to 8, pull off to 6, 9, 7, and now we move up to the 4th string, 7, roll to the 3rd, 7, 6 on the 2nd string, and we're going to back to 7. So we want it to be... Now, from there, we move up, and I just use my 2nd finger as a general rule. We move up to the 10th fret, and we're going to go 10 on the 2nd string, and then roll your finger to get 10 on the 3rd string. You don't want to just bar, because you don't want the notes ringing over each other. You want them to be separate. And then from there, we move up to the 13th fret of the 1st string, 1st finger, to the 15th fret of the 2nd string. So we have like this. And then to the 17th fret of the 1st string, and I use my 4th finger. Whoops, that's not the 17th fret, that's the 19th fret. So after we 13, 15, 17 with your 4th finger, back to the 13th fret with your 1st finger, and we're going to pick that, do a hammer onto 15 with our 3rd finger, and pull back off to 13. To the 17th fret of the 2nd string with your 4th finger, to the 15th fret of the 2nd string, and then that's where we end the riff. So this whole second half of the sequence. So now we're going to play the first half and the second half. We're going to play the whole thing together slowly. Now, if you look up that song and listen to it, it's fast. I'm not playing it anywhere near as fast as she plays that on the fiddle. I haven't worked up my speed yet to be able to play it as fast as she does. But what's cool about this is it doesn't really matter, because you can play it. You don't have to be playing it like lightning fast for it to sound cool. It sounds pretty sweet, just playing it, at a more moderate pace. All right, I hope you enjoyed that and you got something out of it. If you liked the video, give me a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. Leave me a comment down below if there's anything you'd like to see either myself or one of the other instructors here at GuitarControl.com do in a future lesson. So be sure to get those tabs, so you can follow along. And until next time.